Jai Hind and Suprabhat friends, welcome back. Firstly, at the outset, thanks a lot for watching my posts. Please do subscribe to my channel as well. As you know, I only talk about Hindu Dharma or certain international events which affect India in some way or the other in this channel of mine. Today's topic is also on an international event which is still unfolding, that is the Indo-Canadian feud. Now, I'm not going to get into the diplomatic row of things. For that, all the anchors are vying for the top slot. I want to throw some light on the genesis of this problem. All right? As to why Mr. Justin Trudeau of Canada is not only fomenting but also trying to aggravate things. So, without much ado, let me start. You see, what happened at the end of World War II? There were basically two factions, communism and the democratic world, call it the capitalist world. And they had the so-called Cold War going among themselves. After the fall of the erstwhile Soviet Union and decline of communism in Eastern Europe, there was a huge space, a void, which was created. Practically, communism in its true sense is prevalent only in North Korea. Russia is not a communist state, it is more of an authoritarian state. China, they like to call themselves as communist, but the fact is the only thing which is communist in China is the Communist Party of China. And they are okay with its citizens as long as their citizens agree and abide by the diktat of the CCP. Otherwise, you have more billionaires in China than probably in most of the countries globally. Okay, so after the fall of communism, there was this void which was created. Now, this void has been taken over by the radical left. You may call them the radical left, the liberal left, plus nowadays the woke is also added to this movement. Now, what is this movement? This movement is basically nothing other than to grab power. As simple as that. Make no mistake about it. It transcends boundaries, national boundaries. This movement only wants to capture power in as many countries as they can. Who are the faces of this movement? In Canada, it is Mr. Trudeau. In US, it is Biden. And in Europe, most of the prime ministers or big chancellors, rather the entire EU is the face of this movement. And who are the people who are funding? There are many funders of this movement. And prominent among them in the US is George Soros. In Canada, there are a number of people. Now let's keep the names apart. Why I am highlighting this aspect is, you see, this movement has realized it has lost its foothold in India, in the largest democracy in the world. This movement, ever since Modi came to power in India, they have lost whatever little foothold they had in this country, in the largest democracy in this world. The foothold which they held under the UPA is gone. So they want to put pressure on India by whichever way possible to ensure that, one, we are diplomatically isolated, two, we are economically frustrated, in the sense the foreign investments which pour into India get reduced, and thirdly, there is a stigma attached to us when it comes to international relations. No, they are failing in all these three counts. But because of this agenda of theirs, that is why Mr. Trudeau got up one fine morning in Parliament and started casting these baseless allegations against India. Well, we all know he has his own domestic compulsions as well, because the NDP has does support him, and Trudeau depends upon the support of the NDP. Without that, he cannot be in power. That's also a given fact. But he was reading the script given by this radical left movement to him. Make no mistake about that. The script which Trudeau read in Parliament the day he got up and started casting allegations against India for the murder of Mr. Nijjar, a Khalistani terrorist, was given by this radical left. Make absolutely no mistake about that. Okay. Now, what is happening is that a very interesting and a complex dimension is being added to it. And that is the dimension of China. Now, China has realized that it has reached its production potential, production saturation. It has also reached its saturation when it comes to markets in the developed and the developing world. Now, what it basically wants is, China wants political clout in various countries across the globe. So it is hitting upon this radical left. It is hitting upon this radical left and pressuring them to hit out against India. Because China sees India as a very major threat, both economically, militarily, as well as diplomatically. Now, are you getting the sense of things? You see, on the one hand, you have the radical left, which wants a foothold in India. This radical left, with its unbridled arrogance, has got a clout and a heft which is quite significant in the developed world. It wants a hold in India because everybody knows India is the country of the future. India is the land of the future. And add to that, you have the Chinese dimension coming in. So just think about, I'm talking in general terms because I want you guys to, develop upon what I'm trying to give you, the hints that I'm trying to give you. Please try and develop upon them. The radical left, China has started funding them, joining together as a coalition, and this coalition trying to target India. That is why prior to this G20 meet and or we can say even about 6 months or a year back, American attitude under the same Biden administration was not so conducive, was not so friendly. It has now gotten friendly primarily because Mr. Joe Biden has realized that he can't do without India's support. America can't do without India's support. Because they know if the Republicans come to power, they're going to reverse everything. If the Conservative comes to power in Canada, Pierre Poilievre is also going to reverse all the decisions of Justin Trudeau. So the radical left wants to maintain the Democratic Party in US and the Liberal Party in Canada, the two major countries in the Northern Hemisphere, which are still a major support base of this radical left. And of course, it wants to maintain a majority of the governments in the EU. It wants to maintain a majority of its governments. So this is why all these developments are taking place. Make no mistake about that. The killing here, the killing there, these are all small incidents. They were all terrorists, the Azitas had to die. So it is good riddance to bad rubbish, basically. But this is the genesis of the problem. The radical left wants to gain a foothold, comes to power, wants to come to power in India. It is not being able to do so. And rightly, Mr. Modi and the BJP are a solid obstacle to it. And hopefully they will continue to do so. Continue to remain an obstacle. So this is my very short take on this topic. Think about it. I will be speaking about this in my future posts as well. So till next time, take care. Stay safe and happy. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.